please, for the love of God, stop taking my old games, ideas, or assets, or anything like that. All that stuff is not up for grabs. Good morning, Tread Gang. Good morning, Tread Gang. Let me see. I hope this recording's working, because a lot of the time my Quest doesn't record audio. Anyways, welcome to a commentary video. I haven't done one of these in a while, but this is a pretty big one, a pretty important one that is warranted a video for me to post on this channel. I tried to do this before on my PC. I was recording me on my Minecraft world on beta. I like playing beta Minecraft, but basically I was recording there. The mic quality was so bad. I was just like, shit, I gotta re-record this. So that I'm gonna put that on the other side of the screen because I think it's really cool gameplay. I like that. I like the gameplay I had of me just chilling in my world. And I'll do commentary videos moving forward when I get a better mic, pretty much just on that world because I love it. But anyway, enjoy this ADHD edit type commentary video where you've got two different games covering. You saw that, right? My controller just, I hate the Quest 3 tracking. But anyways, so today's video is about fan games, and specifically a problem that has been in the fan game community for a while, but is really just reaching a breaking point where it is becoming a serious nuisance, and could start getting illegal. So basically, this issue is with stealing. So there's a couple of things I want to mention here. I want to talk about how stealing ideas impacts Kong's development. I want to talk about how stealing ideas in general impacts the entire fan game community. And I want to talk about how stealing, and I want to talk about the original use, or the original reason why the Gorilla Tag Locomotion was posted public in the first place. So I'll start really quickly with the problem that, in general. So there's a lot of games popping up nowadays that are taking inspiration, or either taking inspiration heavily from games I've made in the past, or directly stealing from games I've made in the past, and even Kong as well. There's people who have been taking those ideas. So I want to mention it's okay to take inspiration. However, it's the execution that matters, right? So I'll give you an example of a good way to take inspiration, and there's actually a game that has taken inspiration in a good way that I want to mention called Doo-Doo. This game was made by Curtis a while back, and originally was made with assets ripped from Poo Poo, which is the game it was inspired by. And I spoke with them about how, I really appreciate it, right? Because, there's fans out there who really wanted to play the game on multiplayer and on Quest, just like they saw in the videos, but just weren't able to because it wasn't available. So Curtis was doing something for the community that mattered to a lot of people, and I don't want to get in the way of that, right? Because it's cool. So the way that I decided to handle that situation is I asked them politely, hey, can you use original assets like recreations? And they were also talking about how there'd be credits, so credits to the original game, and the game isn't monetized in terms of there's no cosmetics really in that game that you can just buy so that the creator can make money off of it. So that way it's purely a fan recreation for the sake of being a fan recreation, and the creator of that game isn't taking advantage of the other person's intellectual property for monetary gain, as in not stealing to make a bag, So that is a good model way to go about taking inspiration from, if you want to make a fan recreation. Now, taking inspiration, that's a different story. It's inspiration, if you've ever heard the term steal like an artist, right? Stealing like an artist is when you take inspiration from lots of other kind of things that you find interesting and cool, and then mixing them together and putting your own twist on it, right? And then you come up with something that's completely new and unique on the other end. So that is how I would say inspiration is used the best, right? Where you take lots of other ideas and things that you find interesting and mix them together and add your own spin on it. And you take it in a direction different, right? So you're not just taking one thing, recreating it, and then slap a paint on it and calling it good. That is still just like, it's just like stealing, right? You're just copying the idea for the sake of copying the idea. And there's a lot of games that actually do this to make money, which I see as just a big disservice to the reputation of fan games, right? Because there's not the best reputation of fan games right now. It's pretty toxic. People like to steal stuff, hack things. It's not a good look, you know? And that's not what fan games are about. Fan games are about taking, and this is where I want to go into and that's a really good segue. Holy shit. That's where I want to talk about the original use case of the Locomotion and why it was originally posted publicly. So the reason the Locomotion was posted publicly was stated in an interview by Mrs. or I don't even know. They've got a lot of is's on the end of their name. But the reason the Locomotion was posted in the first place was stated in this interview by Lemming, and he said that he wants to have. Oh my gosh! He said he wants people to find better use cases of the Locomotion because he doesn't think tag is the best one, right? And that was a really sick, awesome, super cash money thing of him to do because that allowed for people to put their own spin on the hand-based Locomotion that he'd come up with, which had never been done before. It was really cool. And it allowed for people to take that and run with it in their own unique ways. And I saw that and I was like, that's really cool. So I took the Locomotion and was like, I'm going to make a horror game out of it, right? And that is a completely unique twist on it that had never been done before. And I was like, wow, this is a really cool thing to do. So I did that. And albeit I did it in the not best way at first. And I'll tell you how. Basically, I was using Gorilla Tag ripped assets at first, but turning it into a horror game. But I want to mention that before I posted it public, before I even showed YouTube videos or anything about it, I asked permission from Lemming to go forward with it, right? Because I just started to basically finish it, and I wanted to, like, ask permission. He was like, respectfully, no. But he was like, you know, as long as you make your own assets, it's totally cool. And he even said it would be really cool to see what I make, which was awesome. Lemming's a really chill guy for that. And I respect him hugely for that move. So basically, you know, that was the original use case. That was a good way to go about it, right? Was to take the Locomotion, use your own assets, put your own twist on it. And that's the whole reason why that Locomotion was posted open source in the first place. And it's not to just steal from other people to make a quick bag. It's just a cash grab. And I would highly suggest that if you see games that are just selling mod menus or all this stuff, they're just trying to take a quick buck. They looked at, like, it's very easy. You can go on the YouTube research page thing, like, and I go on there and I could just see, like, the top things that people are asking for. And it's kind of sad to see people spend like $20 on a mod menu in a game where it's like everybody has it. And it's like, I mean, to each their own, but like morally, it's like not, I don't know. You wouldn't see me adding a mod menu to my game, for $50 or some shit. But I want to talk now about how it's impacted Kong and how these games in general, you know, how this kind of stealing problems really affected me in my development of my game. So I'll start with, I can't show sneak peeks anymore. Now, that's been a problem for a while. Every time I would show sneak peeks of something that I've been working on, I would literally see within days a recreation of it somewhere in somebody else's game. And then by the time I release it, like the thing that I've been working on, people come and tell me that I'm unoriginal because these other 3 games had already done it and somebody else took it and ran with it, and now they get all the credit for that idea. And man, seeing that is so disheartening because you'll put in so much time and effort to make something unique and then get called a copycat for your own idea, which is horrible. And it's not just me who's had to deal with that issue. Capuchin, has had problems with that consistently as well, right? Like loads of people have copied Capuchin, and Capuchin isn't the only game either. I've seen like one example of a game that was inspired off of Kong was, I think there's like 4 games. It was like Chimp Lab, Primal Fear, Lethal Ape. I don't know, I'm probably forgetting some, but the games that were kind of made by Stella, those games were very, very much so inspired by Kong, to the point where some of Kong's ripped assets were found in the files, and I had to talk with them about switching assets because it was almost identical to Kong in a lot of ways. However, they listened and changed the assets, and that was good. So now I see loads of games copying those ones, and then sometimes they'll like rip the assets of those games and find the Kong assets in those games and be like, oh, these must be up for grabs as well, or people will take the Kong face texture and just trace over it and call it good. And it's like, come on, guys, really? Like, this is like stuff that I put in loads of work into, and it's like I'm seeing it just like thrown everywhere, and I can't show off anything to get my community excited for the work that we're putting into this next update. And I can't show any work off. And then I've got loads of people coming in and taking ideas from my previous games. And it's almost like I'm worried that by the time I come out with something new, that I'm going to be overshadowed and called a copycat by all these people who haven't seen the work that I've done and are only playing these other games that have taken from me. And it's a really shitty feeling. And I know it's not just me who's dealing with this. There's some small games that have to deal with it as well. There's loads of games that are getting stolen. But the main thing I want to talk about is, if you're a fan game creator, I highly suggest that you completely try something new. Take a risk here and be like, how can I do something different than everybody else? How can I mix a concept that I liked in a completely other niche and just completely run with that instead, right? And how can you, it's okay to take inspiration, but how can you really put your own cool, unique spin on the thing that you've been inspired by, Like, one example is, I am a really, really big fan of Halo. And one way that I was inspired by Halo was specifically, there was this water shader in Halo 3 that had dynamic ripples. And I was there was a whole part of a documentary that they had on this water, and I was like, that is so cool. So me and Duck were talking about that water, and Duck whipped up a water shader that had these ripples in it, and I was like, that is sick. And we got it to work in Kong, and it was like that is one of those things where, right, we didn't just copy the water shader, we didn't just look up the code for it. It was like we saw something that was really cool that had been done in lots of other games, and we went and did that, right? And I guess the water's not really the best kind of example, because every game that has water nowadays wants it to be realistic, unless it's stylized water like that. So I mean, I guess it was a first for the fan game niche, but not a really big first for gaming. But that was an example of something I found that inspired me. So I don't know, maybe, let's say, here, let me just think of something random here. Okay, you could take inspiration from anything and start and add it in. So I'll give an example here. A big one is, people like to, I don't know, make fun of people for being good at the game because they can't tag them or something, and they're like, oh, go touch grass. It's like, why not make a cosmetic that is literally just like a grass block where you can hold it in your hand, there's the grass little things on it, and you could go up, and if somebody touches it, they move, and it's like a cosmetic where it's like, oh bro, touch my grass real quick. It's like a holdable thing where it's like, touch my grass, come on. You need to be safe. Or let's say somebody's calling you out on not touching grass, you could just pull it out and be like, bitch, look. There's stuff like that, right? Take inspiration from all sorts of things and put your own unique twist on it, and not just directly rip stuff and do exactly what everybody else is doing. And I understand some of these people are new to game development and really don't know what else to do, and are just working with code that has been provided by fan game YouTubers who are teaching you how to do stuff in tutorials. For like, I guess an example would be a horror mode, because there's tons of tutorials on how to do that. But I don't know, a good example would be, why not take the code for the horror mode and make it I don't know, like a survival shooter where you have to shoot the zombies or something with movement. Like, that'd be kind of cool, you know? So you can just take ideas from literally anywhere, and I highly suggest you don't just, like, it kind of feels like when I'm working on a game, it feels like people are just like looking at me as if like I'm a grocery store and they could just pick ideas and everything I do is up for grabs. And it's not a good feeling, because I like to spend lots of time on things, and that's not a jab at anybody else, but I see people whip stuff together that is basically just stealing the idea and doing it worse in other games, and it's just got to stop. And ripping assets from my games, specifically, I want to say, please, for the love of God, stop taking my old games ideas or assets or anything like that, and like all that stuff is not up for grabs. The face texture is not up for grabs. The model is not up for grabs. The AI and those things are not up for grabs. So please stop taking those things and make your own original stuff. If you want to take those things and make a fan game thing of it, that's perfectly okay. But like I outlined before, there's a certain way that I would prefer that you go about it, so that way it's not infringing on me in any way. And if you want to use it as inspiration, go ahead and use it, because go ahead and use it for inspiration, right? So you could take that, put your own spin on it, make it something completely different, and that doesn't benefit only you, but it benefits the players as well, because they have something entirely unique that they've never seen before, right? And gives some unique value they've never experienced. So that's all I wanted to address in this video. Please, if you're a fan game creator, spread this around to amongst your developers. And I just want to see if we can get developers to kind of, see this video and be like, yeah, we should probably move in the direction of being more original and taking ideas less. And I know it's kind of hard, because, some ideas are so simple that it's like, oh, dynamic water. It's like the dynamic water idea that we have in Kong isn't unique to Kong, right? It's like loads of games have dynamic water. Gorilla Tag added it literally a day later. It's like stuff like that. I get if it's like a small detail and there's some overlap, sure. But entire games and art styles, let's move past doing that stuff and work to make more unique fan games in the future. Not for only our benefit, because if you make a good game, people are going to play it. And let's say you want to do fan games for your job, it'll benefit you financially to make a more unique game, and it also benefits the players because they get to try new stuff and get new value. So anyways, that's enough of this yap session. I hope you enjoyed the double gameplay. Yeah, click the videos, click these if you want to watch them. Yeah, goodbye.